Welcome back, guys, to the Musings of Maverick channel. Maverick here with episode 6 of Darwin's Game. So, in this episode, I expect that we're going to be getting the story of Sui/Soda. They seem to, I don't quite know if it's a personality disorder, or I guess in this kind of case, it's like just two people residing within one body, right? We can't really call it a disorder, they're two distinct people, something of that sort. It's anime, right? It's anime. Of course, Kaname is going to rescue Shuka, and then perhaps spend the rest of the episode trying to get Soda/Sui on his side in their little clan of sorts, which then we can focus on their battle with the bigger clan/gang, right? So, might take one or two episodes, but let's see what exactly happens and how the story develops. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Ani Park. Okay, so he was actually waiting there. From what happened last episode, it seemed more like he was preparing to just leave. Yeah, whatever. There, there is he/she on the right there. Hmm. You know, that guy reminds me of damn it, what's his name? The guy from Death Note. Yui? I kind of forgot what his English name was. Okay. Hardness. So he can't just. So he can't actually just directly communicate within his head. Okay. So I guess Sui is the one who controls water, and Sota is the one who makes it into ice? Sewers?
D ゲームで携帯を手放すとは考えられねえ。必ず近くにいる。
今だ。
Oh, okay. That's the water.
油断したな、兄ちゃん。俺らが操れるのは真水だけじゃないんだよ。悪いけど
Yeah, I agree as well. Just seriously.
これ以上
Talk about careless.
ないんでね。許せ。邪魔するな、スリ。俺たちが生き残るにはあの6個のリングが必要なんだ。こいつに邪魔されるわけにはいかない。
なんだ。
やっぱりダメだよ、ソータ。私、人殺しをしてまで生き残りたくない。
Well, he'd fit right in. She'd fit right in with Kaname, I guess. Speaking of which.
夏場にしては水が冷たいと思えば。かなり分厚いな。しかも天井までびっちり塞いでやがる。これに閉じ込められたのか。
Okay. So the ice was still in there.
割れてくれよ。シカどこだ。返事をしてくれ。シカ。そうだ、リングの位置を探せば。防水形態なんだからちゃんと動いてくれよ。あそこか。
I feel like this would make much more sense than what we saw last episode, with seemingly there only being water in there. If the ice wall.
シカ、おいシカ、しっかりしろ。息をしてない。いや、弱いけどまだ脈はある。まだ生きてる。
Already dropped.
意識のないシカを運ぶのは無理だ。でも穴を広げてる時間はない。それにこの水の冷たさじゃ急がないと俺まで動けなくなるぞ。くそ、シカ、頼む、目を覚ませ。シカ。ダメか、どうすりゃいいんだ。
CPR.
一応免許の教習で教わったけど、実際にやったことなんてないぞ。ためらってる場合じゃねえだろ。俺、しか。頼む、目を覚ましてくれ。
Of course, just an excuse to show a kissing scene. I think in terms of practicalness, chest compressions are more important than actually breathing air into the airway. But, I mean, it's anime. I'm not gonna get caught up on that.
もうバカ、人工呼吸ってやつだよ。お前息してなかったんだぞ。
あったかい。最初から目も死んじゃって、二人して天国にいるのかと思ったよ。
散々死にかけたけどな。俺もなんとか生き残ってるよ。
Okay.
ファーストキスのやり直しね。助けてくれた。
Yeah, nice, thank you.
それでこれからどうするの？
ああ、もちろんここから出る。それで急いで拠点に戻ろう。
拠点？
仲間が増えたんだ。信頼できる奴らが。
仲間？私以外に？ひどくない？いつの間に。冗談。まあどうせクランは作るつもりだったしね。ねえ、カナメ。
You guys wanna, like, maybe talk after
公園で聞いたよね。
you get out of this water?
ダーウィンズゲームをやっているのかって。
シカが話したくないのなら別にいいよ。
カナメには知っておいてほしい。私、敵を探してるの。
敵？
Ooh.
パパとママを殺した男。
So I guess he's also a participant in Darwin's game? He's using the abilities and what. March 26th, I'm guessing. Maybe her birthday. Of course. Okay, at least they're moving now. Oh, just make the chains for her. Boom. Talk about overkill. Oh, he's figured it out as well. My theory is that the numbers there are actually the latitude longitude coordinates. More rings drop. Because of course, logic. It makes sense. Oh. Oh yeah, she can just get all the water out of it. Oh, that's convenient. Oh damn. That'd be instant death. Alright. I was like, that seems OP. Wait, does that mean Sota is able to freeze all the water in someone else's body?
った通りなんだそりゃ。
だって学校でみんな言ってますよ。 D ゲームは願った通りのシギルをくれるって。
That does
斬新
work.
な施設だな。
Huh.
でも本当に決めた。あなた面白いから私と要のクランに入りなさい。ねえ、いいよね要。
今のそういう話だったのか。まあ俺は構わねえけど。
ご好意はありがたいんですけど、私向いてないんです、戦うとか。じゃあ決まりね。別に戦ってもらおうとは思ってないから。それじゃあ私
Be like the personal washing machine. I knew it.
いいのか、あれ放っておいて。
いいさ、そのうちちゃんとしたクランを作るつもりなのは本当なんだ。
お前が誰を引っ張り込もうと構わねえさ。俺はこのイベントでエースのワンがやれりゃそれでいい。
事情は知らねえけど、リュウジがワンってやつを恨んでんのはわかる。でも忘れんなよ。俺たちが共闘してんのはワンを殺すためじゃない。このゲームを生き残るためだ。
そりゃ見解の相違ってやつだな。まあ今はお前に従うさ。お前には借りがある。おっ始めやがった。ここからじゃ直接は見えねえが。
ダイヤリングの配置で休憩してた連中が一斉に動き出したってことか。
リングを持っておとりになろうか。これからホテルに移動して籠城するんでしょ。
いや、シュカはまだ本調子じゃないだろう。それにもうすぐホテルはダイヤリングを巡る戦場になる。それにレインが見つけたリングの暗号、もし俺の予感が正しいなら。来たか、レインからの返事。シカ、今持ってるリングは全部捨てろ。もうそいつらに用はない。俺たちはこれから真の宝を抑えて、このクソったれなイベントを終わりにする。
I mean, you can end the event and still haunt the rings.
全て捨ててゲームクリアを狙うそうです。私も先行して向かいます。
I guess he's gonna use it as bait, maybe?
柊さんはどうするんです？仮にここに5人揃っていたとしても、相手があの数では勝ち目があったか。
おう攻撃官、用意はいいか。今からバリケードぶち破るぞ。
見えるだけで20人近くいます。いくらなんでも全に無勢すぎます。
もう行った方がいい。要君には結局協力できずすまなかったと伝えてくれ。
やはり残るつもりですか？
私には心臓の悪い娘がいてね。大金が必要なんだ。不確実なゲームクリアより確実にリングのポイントが欲しいのさ。運よくダイヤリングまで手に入ったしね。そういえば娘は今12歳でね。ちょうど君くらいの背丈なんだよ。
私13ですけど。
Oh, she's only 13?
失礼した。
Okay.
確かに娘は君よりだいぶ子供っぽいが。
柊さん、もし私がその子の立場だったとしたら、自分の知らないところで父親が命を落とし、もう二度と会えないと知ることは、それはきっと自分の病気より悲しいことです。私からは以上です。
That's a good advice. So maybe...
分かっているさ。だが私が自由に使えるのは自分の命だけなんだ。
I mean, he's obviously not part of the main group, right? Is he actually going to die, though?
反撃してこねえ。多分罠張って引きこもりですよ。俺ちょっと行ってきますね。おうシグ、前線の指揮を頼んだぞ。任せてくださいよ。
やっぱあちこちに爆弾仕掛けてんな。
こうやってこっちから吹っ飛ばしちまえばいいさ。そうそう、景気よく派手に行こうよ。手榴弾はいくらでも買えばいいんだからさ。
にしてもなんすかねこの植物、気味悪いったらね。
ここに陣取ってるやつのシギルってことだろうね。そういや、植物使いの噂聞いたことあるよ。確かあだ名は花屋だっけか。
シグさんどうします？上はエレベーターか非常階段を使うしかないみたいっす。
慎重に行くなら階段だろうけど、相手が植物使いってなら話が違うわ。俺のシギルと相性良すぎ。
What, fire?
一見罠はないね。じゃちょっと行ってくるよ。シグさん、何人か連れてった方がいいんじゃ。い
Yeah. Fire. No, there's other ways to... I was thinking, you know, they could also just, like, cut the elevator rope. The elevator cable. But I guess most elevators have fail-safes.
1台のエレベーターを使うとなりゃ全員乗るのは無理だな。2階に分けて乗り込むぞ。ここまでは敵の歓迎がなかったが、上じゃそうはいかねえはずだ。お前ら気合い入れてけ。
出迎えが遅れてすまなかった。歓迎しよう、エイスの諸君。
Huh. Okay, so these are just normal gang members? How does that work, though? Like, if one of the... There seems to be more after the end as well. I'm actually gonna skip on ahead. Right, I'll see you guys if there is some more. If not, I'll see you guys after this. Right, so as expected, there's still some more. Let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play.
どうやら無事にエイスの包囲は抜けられたようですね。スタート時には300人のプレイヤーがいたというのに、まるで今回のイベントは人を減らすことそのものが目的かのような。そもそもこんな大規模なイベント
Really? The first major event of this game.
携帯による精神操作を使ったところで街一つ占拠したこの事件が明るみに出ること自体は避けられないでしょう。今までの D ゲーム運営は法執行機関の介入を避けようとしている節があったのに、以前とは目的が変わった。それとももう隠す必要性が薄くなった。これ以上考えても答えは分かりませんね。今は目の前に集中しなければです。リングに隠されていた数字は全て判明しました。問題はこの数字が何を意味するのか。
Probably coordinates.
並べても数字の意味がはっきりしません。
35
宝
point.
石本来の価値順に並べ替えるのかとも思いますが、宝石の価値は種類と重さだけで決まる単純なものではありません。
Huh, there's actually only one dot?
宝石の序列を
No, there's 2 dots, yeah.
基準があるとすれば何か
Now the question is...
硬さの順に並べるのが正解。ヒントはルビーとサファイアの数字が同じ9ということ。その2つのモースコードはともに9。酸化アルミニウム結晶で鉱物としては同じもの。モースコード順に数字を並べればこれが座標を表していることは明白。
Okay.
そしてこの座標
Yeah, so it is GPS coordinates. Latitude, longitude.
中心地渋谷駅。この駅のどこかに真の宝が隠されているに違いありません。
Okay.
次回エイス
Alright, so let's talk about episode 6, right? So continuing my theme of getting nitpicky on stuff. It's not like I really want to do it like this, but there's just so much stuff for me to go out on. So, say for instance, one thing that I want to quickly go over is Ryoji's scene with Sweet and Shota in the convenience store, right? So again, a sort of contrived way due to Sweet's intervention, so to save a main character's life, similar to when Ryoji did not kill Kaname back a few episodes ago. I mean, no, it's whatever. I was originally going to make a point on how I think this is really a big amateur mistake by Ryoji as well, but actually learning more about the time scale of things here, I think that one I'll give a pass. It's not entirely clear whether or not Ryoji was actually accustomed to this kind of life, accustomed to violence and fighting and whatnot. We presume he is, due to the way that he acts, his mannerisms and whatnot, but it's entirely possible that he was just a normal Joe before joining this game as well, or before some, I guess, other events in his life, maybe dealing with the Wong character of the 8th, right? So, amateur, definitely, but that might actually be true in his situation. So, I'll give that a pass for now until we learn more about his backstory. Now, the main thing I want to go back to, because this is also one of the main things I mentioned last episode, and something that a lot of comments were pointing out and discussing with me, right? I don't condemn anybody for bringing up points who want to try to refute what I say on these reviews and whatnot. I am aiming this towards more of a sort of discussion-oriented sort of style. So, let me tell you guys about my philosophy on anime first. I firmly believe in two things. One is that an anime should exist independently of any other media which it is based on. This includes the game, a manga, a light novel, etc., etc., right? Unless explicitly stated, I don't think an anime should rely on people knowing the source material in order to enjoy or in order to make it a cohesive story. That is one thing. That is one of my philosophies of anime. Number two is, I believe in animation, the animation of the anime should always support the context of the situation. What exactly you're trying to convey in a certain scene, the animation should match that. Now, obviously, this is an ideal. Not every single anime is going to be like this, but it is a goal to strive for, right? So, let's talk a little bit about once again, the Kaname, and Shuka scene, both in this episode and in last episode as well, right? So first of all, I want to point out one inconsistency here. So in the last episode, we see that when Soda had Shuka trapped in the underground station, he was literally standing in front of the steps leading down from it, right? So in that case, it seems that he constructed the ice wall right near the entrance there, right? That is how the scene was portrayed to be, and yet at the end of the last episode and indeed the beginning of this episode, we see that the entrance does not have an ice wall blocking it, and instead is just water. The ice wall was actually moved further in from the entrance from the stairs, right? So that in itself, that's an inconsistency that's maybe minor, but it does, for me who actually looks at the scene and questions, why something particular happens, I'd be like, hey, okay, so the ice wall is gone, so perhaps Suda is not able to maintain the ice wall that long, or perhaps he decided to deconstruct the ice wall, perhaps in order to maybe swim him himself, or he wants to do something else, right? And that's how I would assume that, hey, if Shuka wanted to, she could just swim to yet another entrance and exit from there, right? So that's one thing. But that is more of a minor point. My biggest point is, again, in regards to entire situation as to how or why Shuka was actually trapped down there and why she got into such a precarious situation as she was. Now, I totally understand the effects of losing body temperature in cold water, right? I understand hyperthermia. You don't need to explain that to me. Icy water kills. I get that. The thing here, however, is the animation never truly supported that fact that it was such a precarious situation. And that's basically it. So, say for instance, in this episode, even though Konami did mention that, hey, this water is kind of cold, and I can't stay in this for too long, right? And we assume that Shuka maybe got to that point because she eventually succumbed to the hyperthermia and did not have any strength anymore, and so dropped into the water, right? And yet, after she was revived, they didn't spend much time, fooling around and just talking, right inside the water like nothing ever happened. If Shuka really was succumbing to hyperthermia, there would be absolutely no time for them to fool around there. It would be instant transfer back up on land, and she would need to have warm blankets. She would need to have things to protect her core body temperature, and so on and so forth, right? And yet here we can see them making small talk, making jokes, and Shuka is swimming back to the entrance on her own. So that's what I mean by the animation should support the context. And I mentioned this last episode as well, in that, okay, I can totally get if you want to portray this scene as one where she is, the water is icy cold, she's losing all her strength, it's a really dire situation, she's about to die, and yet the animation does not support that in these little details, right? The anime is making it a moot point. So that is why I have such a huge grievance with the situation and how it's portrayed, as well as the implied context beneath it, which I don't think is implied at all by the way that they animated the scenes. So there we go. That is basically the point that I am trying to make here. And I like, but yeah, I don't want to harp on that too long anymore. I feel like I've explained myself enough already. If you disagree, then sure, fine. But that is my stance on this situation. And like, don't get me started about the CPR as well, right? Doing rescue breathing directly in the water and without chest compression, whatever. I get it. It's just an excuse for Kaname and Shuka to kiss, right? I get it. It's an anime. And of course, Shuka's reaction definitely did not disappoint. I did find it kind of amusing given the situation and context. So whatever. It's an anime, right? It's an anime. It's fiction. And going forward, so with all of that out of the way, I actually do have a key question that, I guess this is more like an open discussion. So, in the rules, it's been stated that you cannot allow others to know of this game, right? That is a no-no. If you do that, you will be instantly transported, you'll be instantly game overed, and I guess transported to wherever the hell you're transported to once you game over, right? Now, the thing here is, and I mentioned this originally when we saw a few episodes ago when Wong was going to some rival gangs, I guess, and beating them up using his powers, right? In that context, I already had this question, like, why is he able to use that? At that point, I didn't even know about this rule, but yet he was in some way already breaking the rule, right? Now, at that time, I theorized that, okay, perhaps if he doesn't leave anybody alive to witness this, that would constitute a being within the rules, right? Like how, of course, that's kind of arbitrary, but yet, how does the game creator know whether someone broke a rule or not, right? So I'll just assume that that is the way that it works by. Now here, however, it seems that a lot of the people in the 8th, like the normal gang members, they don't seem to have any power, right? Like in this episode, and indeed in episodes past, it seems that they rely a lot on just normal weapons. We never see them using any of their other sigils or whatnot. So is that a case where they actually are normal members? I don't, or it could just be a case where they're just not bothering to animate their sigils. Maybe they're too weak or not, or whatnot, or maybe they're not combat oriented. They're all utility oriented, something of that sort, right? I guess that is a possibility, or the loophole maybe you can't tell anybody about the game, but it doesn't really matter if you show your abilities in front of someone else, as long as you don't make a reference back to the Darwin's game, right? That could also be a possibility here. So that is sort of like an open discussion that I want to throw out, because that does seem kind of weird to me how they're able to basically utilize normal people, it seems, within the game, right? Within the event. What else? So we also got the, like, I don't know if the florist was actually sacrificed in this episode or not. Maybe not. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was, because, like I said, in the opening, we don't see him, right? So, obviously, he's not a main character. He's not that important or integral to Kaname's clan or whatnot. So, he would basically be fulfilling his job and then be gone. So, I guess it doesn't really matter if he's alive or not. And but in this case, maybe he's dead. But it's hard to say, because he did just give get this talking to by Rain, right? So it's also possible that she's like, okay, I have her words in my mind, so I need to survive for my daughter's sake, something of that sort. That's also possible. But I guess his story, at least for the most part, his story or his role in this current arc or situation has come to a conclusion, whether he's alive or not. So indeed, the numbers written on the rings were coordinates, so that much was it's the same as I predicted. I didn't actually notice that it was ordered by hardness scale though, so that's a interesting thing. Yeah, I didn't notice that one. Now the other thing here, however, which I also feel is kind of like an interesting foreshadowing or a question given to us viewers, was the sort of monologue by Rain here, right? How this is the first major scale event of the game. So that actually took me by surprise. I wasn't aware that this was actually the first time something of this had existed. I thought that the game had existed for quite a while already, but apparently that's not the case. And also the fact that she's talking about, hey, doing such a big scale, large scale event like this, it's really hard to avoid the attention of other people, right? Even though in this situation they managed to transport all the others out and completely shut down the area or whatnot. Potentially they would even fix up everything once the game is over. It raises some interesting questions, right? Like, how exactly are they able to do this? Is it a case where this actually turns out to be a virtual world or virtual game after all, right? Something similar to Sword Art Online, that kind of stuff, and that might be the big twist in this story here. Or is it actually foreshadowing that the government is in cahoots with all this, and the creator of the game is either working with the government, or he's actually able to control the government in order to accomplish these kinds of plans on this kind of scale, right? So that's also, I guess, something to think about for the future and in regards to the story in general. So there we go. That's my review of episode 6 of Darwin's Game. Next week, actually, I'll give you guys a heads up in advance. Next week's episode will be released a little bit later. I'm actually going on vacation in Japan next week. I like to snowboard, so I normally go to Japan to snowboard for maybe twice or 3 times per year, and of course in the winter season, right? So I'm not going to be able to record these videos while I'm abroad. And they might be, once I get back, I'll try to get them out as soon as possible, but it might be a 3 or 4 day delay. So just to let you guys know in advance. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and keep the comments coming, just keep it civil. I'm always open to discussion. So hope you guys have a nice day, and bye bye.